Okay, so here we're gonna see if this comes up. Okay, it came up on Twitch. Is it gonna come up on YouTube? I might have to figure out how to do it differently on YouTube. Do I have to select it and restream? It's coming through restream. Oh, I do see it live on YouTube. I've got a link. It's just not showing me in the studio thing. It's coming through restream. Okay. Well, I guess we're up. It looks like YouTube's up, Restream's up, it looks like Twitch is up. So I'm probably going to, well, I don't know. Let's just leave it like that. Should have enough bandwidth to get the stream twice. Alright, so let's check my latency on YouTube. So I'm scrolling. That's a lot of latency on YouTube. I'll probably close it because it's a little confusing. Why does it look like it's frozen? I don't see the YouTube going. Oh, now there it's going. So it's working, it's just really, really slow. Okay, well, that's fine. Just leave it up there next to old Twitch. And I think we're good to go. Okay, so where were we? We were coding this brand image generator thing. Let me pull up my file over here. So last time I started from scratch coding a little application, a little console app in C# where I want to generate a brand image for myself. And this is kind of where we got to. A lot of kind of cool, gritty, pixely goodness. But I want to do it better than that. I still have a lot of cool ideas that I want to try to get to. So we're just gonna start and see how it goes. Alright, let me get reoriented for a second here. We got get ignores open, don't need that. So let's see, what's the next task? I was thinking about this a little bit, about what I want to do next. And I think probably the first next thing to do is I want to get yeah, some kind of cool effect. I want to get like a layer of ones and zeros back here, and I had a cool idea for how to do that. And I also had a cool idea for how to I want to make it so that it's like brighter in the center and then it kind of like fades out towards the edges, but I don't want it to just be like a boring like radial gradient. I want it to be like blocky like everything else. So there's like kind of progressively lighter blocks like towards the sides and from the top and from the bottom. And also I'm probably gonna get rid of this font. I really don't like the way that font is working. I might just suck it up and use the ByteDance for the Barton part also. And probably if we get to it in this stream, I also plan to organize the code a little bit better so that I can I start to organize. Like I had a cool idea since I'm doing it all from generation and this is all based on just a couple of key colors. I could have it do the same type of generation except using different key colors, like a couple of different base colors for each platform. So I could make like a red themed one for YouTube and I could make a purple themed one for Twitch. That would be pretty cool. And another thing that I might try to get into today, because I'm using RNG, I'm using random number generators to create like the noise and stuff like that. Right now, for the pixels, it's not that big of a deal for the pixelation. it kind of looks the same no matter what because there's so many of them. But if I start to use random number generation to do kind of bigger, more complicated things that have like a more dramatic effect on the total output image, then it's going to be really annoying that it keeps changing each time I run the generator and I keep getting a totally different effect. I'm going to get to a point where I want to take like one generation of it that I think is really nice and lock it in. So I might try to start threading some like seed numbers through to the random generators so that I can pass them and lock in the random generation passes on ones that I actually like. So let's give that a try. What do we want to start with first? First, just because it's going to annoy me otherwise the whole time, I guess I will go ahead and change the font. I was doing Consolas here. Let's just make that ByteDance as well. Oh, these headphones are all over the place. Okay, and this one probably should be like 200. Let's just pop that guy first. I guess I should mention for anybody who comes and watches this in the future that I'm uploading all this to a GitHub as well. So I've got somewhere, yeah, I've got an actual like GitHub profile here. This is the branding we're trying to replace and regenerate. I've got this branding repository. This has got all the code that's we're working on here. It's all under MIT license, so you can go and do whatever you want with it. I'll just throw that back off to the side for now. Alright, how did this come out? Changing the font. Whoa, now it's way too big and it's also not the right font. What did I do there? Alright, let's focus a little bit. ByteDance, it's called ByteBounce. ByteDance is the name of something, I don't remember what it is, but whatever it is, I was thinking of it apparently. Alright, there we go. That's a little bit better. And probably, because it's a little, I kind of want to like squish the Barton one. I don't think I have like a non-bold option for this font, but I could achieve what I want by basically like horizontally switching it or whatever. Maybe that could be, is that more like a filter or a generator? I guess it's like a generator more. It sounds like a, because it produces a thing of a different size. So a resize generator is going to take it's going to start from a bitmap and it's going to take maybe an X scale and a Y scale. So the idea is we want to scale down this image. Oh, you know, it also would be helpful to have one that did like brought it down by a certain fraction, or brought it down like to a specific size. But let's start with this for now. Okay, so this, how did I do this? It's going to implement an iGenerator interface, and that means it has generate method. And here, I think we're just going to, oh, first I got to capture these. I'm going to call this the source. So we're going to have something about like that. We're going to capture those from the constructor. Yep. Okay. So now down here, we're gonna do first I gotta compute the new size of it. So we're going to make a rect. It's like call it a rectangle, right? And that's gonna be source mount.floor source.width times x scale times the y scale. I need to capitalize those. Oh, and probably now floor thinks it's taking in a double, so it wants to give back a double, and the rectangle wants ints. So probably need to hard truncate those. It will not implicitly convert from a double to an int. Rectangle, does it need to take? Yeah, okay. And let's just space that out a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to read. Let's see. I have some kind of chat message. YouTube is good. All right, wonderful. Yeah, I need to have this up where I can see it properly. I'm glad that's working. All right, so we got an out rectangle, and then now we're gonna want to make an out bitmap, which is gonna be it's gonna have the out rectangles width and height, and then we're gonna get the graphics context thing. With that, we're gonna do draw image, which is gonna have the yeah, I saw that the YouTube thing has latency all over the place. That's funny. I've got the Twitch on one side and the OBS on the other side, so I see the I see them come through at different times. Let's draw our source, and we want to draw it into. This is what we learned last time, that you could just give this draw thing a rectangle, and it'll draw the image into the rectangle. And then, of course, got to return the out bitmap. Alright, so that should be all we need. And that should give us the power over here. And the brand renderer that we have. Okay, so I generated a Barton BMP. That's if you want. That's this guy, this chunk right here. And I want to squish it a little bit horizontally. So let's do resize generator and pass it the Barton bitmap, and X scale we want it to be like 0.75 maybe, and the Y scale can stay as 1, and then we'll replace yeah, exactly like that. So what that should do is that should squish it horizontally a little bit. Let's see how that's going to work. Did not really work. It seems like it scaled it in both directions. What did I do wrong? Or does the thing even squish? Maybe I have to pass it some kind of like scaling mode. I wonder if I do have to do that. Well, let's try it just to prove it first. So if I made this like a really small number, then is it going to shrink the whole thing by that factor, or is it just going to shrink the x dimension by that factor? Oh, okay, it shrinks the whole thing by that factor. So did I do something wrong in here? Resize. Oh, of course, I did do something wrong. This should be times the X scale, and this should be times the Y scale. Okay, that explains it. So let's go back to our original configuration. Alright. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So now we squished it a little bit horizontally. So that's a little bit more like I want. Now I could probably bring the size up a little bit, and maybe I bring the squish down a little bit. Let's see, let's give this like a 220 font size. Give this a squish of like 0.666. Let's see where that gets us. I don't need this window. Now it feels too squished. 666 is not good. Let's try like, yeah, 7.5 is probably good. Okay, so now that's workable for a main font, kind of like a main text generation. Yeah, all right, let's work with it like that for now. So, few other things. Let's actually make the colors configurable from the profile first. So let's try to key all this, because right now I'm just doing like random hard-coded colors all over the place. But it'd be really cool if this could come from like a color theme that you specify for each brand profile. The other thing I want to do with this is, instead of passing all this crap in the constructor, I was thinking about this. I mentioned in the last stream, I don't really like putting this stuff here. Well, now I've got this big main file, which is the only thing that's ever going to use any of those. So maybe here is where I want to actually define my list of profiles. Let's do like here. And then we'll just, there's not really a reason. Here I like made one that's like named YouTube, and then I put it in a list, but there we don't really ever need to call them out by name directly. So let's just take that over and do it here directly. Now this is going to start with gonna call the function to get the profiles. Now the second thing I want to do here is, especially because I'm gonna start to have more parameters for each of these profiles, I really don't want to, in fact, you know what, if I'm gonna have like a YouTube and a Twitch and a whatever that I want to each have the same color scheme, like the same color profile, I might actually want to define that separately. Yeah, let's do that. So here, we've got a brand profile. Let's also make like a color profile. I was gonna say the other thing I want to do to it is, because there's gonna start to be a lot of parameters that get passed, I'm just gonna stop taking them through the constructor and just use direct initialization. That'll be like a lot cleaner, and I can kind of space it out on multiple lines. It'll be very clear what everything is. So for a color profile, all right, so here we need to do some thinking. What are the key colors? I was thinking like, could probably have what we'd call like a primary color and a primary highlight maybe. So that'd be like the kind of darker blue and the lighter blue. And then we probably want like I was thinking like an accent color that we could use. That's kind of like a contrast to those. And then I was thinking like a texture color. They would just be like to add some extra grittiness to it or some extra like depth to the color. So it's like most of the color is going to come from the first two. What do I want to call those? Like a primary and secondary, or like primary and emphasis. Not color profile. I want it to be actual color. Why don't you like that? You need to. Yeah. Okay. Just lock it down to initialization. Primary, I don't know what I want for the name of that second one. Emphasis color is too much. Let's call it the hot color. We're trying to use words that don't map to any specific color, you know, because that they could have be used differently in like different contexts of generation. So that was where I had, what did I say the other ones were? A texture color and a highlight color. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's call this the strong color, and let's call this the base color. So the strong color should be like a more emphasized version of the base color. The highlight color should be something that has some contrast. And then the texture color should be something that's like darker and in the same vein of these two, but it has like a different hue. Like if I was doing purple, I might want, or if I was doing like a blue theme, I might want that to be some kind of purple, so I could have some elements that are like purplish. Okay, that's fine. And because I'm gonna do direct initialization, I don't even need a constructor for it. So over here in the program, start by defining the color profiles that we want. And so here we have like, what were these called again? We have the, I'll just make really ugly ones for now. Actually, brown maybe. Okay. So let's define them like that, and then we could have another one. Let's say like and so for Twitch it would be more like a purple color. Like pink could be a strong color. Like teal maybe for a highlight. No, not green. What's like something nice that goes with purple, like a dark red kind of. Okay, let's try it like that. Okay, so now I want to change my brand profile. First of all, I'm just gonna totally nuke this constructor. Name, type, width, height. Well, before I nuke the constructor, I'll go and change the way it gets initialized over here. And for that, we're gonna pass the YouTube banner type, the banner type, and then width 2560, height 1440, and then I guess now that I'm doing it like this, I can go back to just setting the rectangle directly. On the rectangle we worked out X, Y, okay. Now, why is it yelling me about all this stuff? Probably it doesn't like that I have, oh, it's because they're all private set. So those all need to be changed to a init. The difference, as you might guess, between private set and init is that private set can be set at any time, but only from within the class itself, within the object of the class. And init can be set publicly, but only at the time that the thing is being created. And after that, both publicly and privately, it can't be set anymore. So that's fine. Okay, we don't need these anymore because we're doing it outside now. This one private now, one needs to be init also. Okay. So over in the program, it should be cool with all this now. Alright, good. Oh, it doesn't accept her yet. Alright. So now I can give it a color profile. Let's do probably before the type. Okay. And we can pass in, I have like so I pass it the YouTube colors that I defined. And I could do for second one, yeah, let's also get like a second example profile, so we're generating everything in a couple of different forms. So I haven't really coded anything to work differently. So this is supposed to be the banner. What would be the other really huge one is like a desktop background. I don't know if I want to get to that quite yet. So for now we'll just do like emphasize it by having like one for YouTube and one for Twitch. Twitch banner. Now let's take a look at what kind of dimensions? Recommended dimensions 1200 by 480. Okay. Offline screen or video banner. Video player banner. Oh, I see. That's so oh, an offline screen. Okay, so that's actually a different type that I could set up if I wanted to for Twitch. So okay, well let's capture 1200 by 480. And is there any kind of special area of interest for Twitch banner size? Like, is there any? Because YouTube had that weird thing where it's gonna get cut off or whatever. Maybe I would just start with like half the dimensions it wants here. So for a Twitch banner, let's do 1200 by, oh, I'm editing the wrong thing. 480, and our area of interest is going to be like, what's 1200 divided by 4 is like 300, and then 480 divided by 4 is like 240, 120. And then these are going to be double them, so 600 in the middle, 240 tall. And for the Twitch one, we're going to pass it the Twitch colors. Okay, now you're not looping over that anymore. Now we're grabbing the profiles here. So that's cool. Now the only next step is to go and actually use the colors inside of our brand renderer instead of making everything from scratch. So these things, like I've got this noise color, that should actually come from like scaling down. Alright, does this color class have is there like a built-in color lerp function? Or am I just gonna have to make one? It'd be really useful to have one. Well, before I go and code one, let's actually check and see if that's like a thing. So for people who don't do this stuff much, lerp is the short for linear interpolation, which means we start from one color over here and a second color over there, and then we give it a factor, like how far we want it in between those two colors. And that's a really nice way to define a new color, because you can say like, so you can do a function that darkens a color that way. You say like the color that you want to darken is color A, and then you just use black for color B, and then you choose how close to black you want your color to be. Like, you know, do you want it 20% black or 50% black or whatever, and you mix it. Okay. Actually, I see that it's implemented me one here, but I think I'm just gonna do it myself. Where would be a place to put those? I need like a utility folder in here. And util, we're gonna add a color util class. So I'm going to make a static class because it's just supposed to have static methods in it. You're not supposed to create objects from it. Inside here, we're going to get I have to use the import again. Lerp, and that's going to take color A. Let's call it C1. Color C2, and then, yeah, it already knows what I want to do. I'd like to call that X. Actually, I'm just going to call these A and B. Okay, so first we're going to make sure wait, how do I want to do this? The minimum. So it can't go above 1.0, and maximum, it can't go below 0.0. So it's just in case. It's not really because I'm too dumb that I might like accidentally pass a negative number or a huge number here. It's because this X that I use later might be the result of a calculation, and I might be dumb and mess up the calculation. So I want to do a little bit of protection so that it won't try to create like an illegal color. So we're just going to clean that up. Then I guess another good question is, should it lerp the alpha? Or do we want the alpha from the source color? Maybe that could be a parameter. It's kind of making it complicated. I think I'm just going to lerp the alpha. It'll just be a straight lerp for now. From ARGB. So now this is going to be, we're going to have to cast it back to int because we're going to do like double math. It's going to be like a dot rel alpha times, how do I do this again? Let me think through it for a second. So the main thing is we want the difference of these two to be scaled. So first, I'll construct it differently. We want first we want color 2's alpha minus color 1's alpha. So that's the distance between them, and it's okay if this comes out to be negative. And then we want to multiply that by x, by the factor. So that should mean that when A is, yeah, so okay, so because this is the difference to B, so if x is 1, then that means we're going to get the whole range of this distance, and if x is 0, we're going to get none of this distance. If color is 0, it's going to be B still, or it's going to be, well, I'll work through the rest of it. Okay, so those two times x. Now it doesn't like that this whole expression is getting turned into a double, but I also have to add a back to it. So we want, so let's like take an example. Like if our color 1's alpha was like 25 and our color 2's alpha was 50. And our X is, let's say they set it to 1, so they want it to be all the way to color 2. So we've got 25 plus 50 minus 25 is another 25 times 1. So these should be in a group. And that gets you 50, so that's what you want. And then if we did it the other way, if X was all the way at 0, so that, which means you want the first color out, then if color 1's alpha is 25, the difference between them is still 25 times 0, so then you get 25. You get the first color back in. So that's correct, I think. Now I need to cast the expression as an end. Okay. So now we're just going to do that for all 4 color components. Red, 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 green, 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 blue, blue, and blue. Okay, and then we don't need that final one. So we should construct a new color from the lerp between those 2 colors. Okay, so once we have that in the renderer, I'm just going to work through the colors I'm using and try to get them from the colors that I passed in the profile. So noise color right now is like a really kind of a dark color. And let's say that this noise color I want to come from the base color. So instead of this, and I want it to be lerped quite black. So we can darken it by saying lerp profile.colors.base color. Actually, because this thing is called colors, before I do too much of this code, I'm gonna come in here and rename these to just be, you don't really need to specify that they're colored, that's just extra verbose. If you say colors.highlight, then you know that that's a highlight color. You don't have to say highlight color. Okay. So profile colors base to black, and we're gonna take this all the way like pretty much to like 90%, so like 0.9. So that means we're going like 90%, mixing this color 90% of the way to black. Okay, then we do this, we do the pixelator thing. Then for the Barton font here, let's start by just giving this one the base color directly. So I made a solid brush of some kind of random color. Let's make that the base color. This one, the code brush, this is what I had in mind when I was doing the strong color. I don't need this wrapper anymore. Okay, now what else did I have down here? Oh, I was doing noise and making up random, that I'm adding to the thing. So this noise could be from the highlight color, but probably that's probably too bright, too strong. I probably want to take the highlight color to like 50% dark, 50% light. I'm actually not sure. For now, we're just gonna do it directly from the highlight color because these are already set pretty high. So and then we'll do this one also. Okay, and then down here we don't do anything else with colors. So those are the main. Oh, the gradient at the back. Well, that's just like black to white. I might just leave that. Alright. Alright, let's see what goes on with this. Colors are probably going to be all messed up, but then we can fine tune them when we define the profile. Okay, so here we got one that it thinks should be like my YouTube variant. This noise on here actually came out looking kind of cool. The red in the background definitely came out looking kind of cool. I think the highlight here definitely needs to be toned down a bit. Oh, I could lerp the highlight from the base color. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So basically I want to start the noise color from the base color and then blend in a little bit of the highlight color to give it some sparkle. And then the yellow here is just a straight yellow, so you can barely even add stuff to it. But we'll tune that down. And then we should have a second version. Ah, okay, so it tried to make me a Twitch one. It tried to make it way smaller. Right now, I'm not doing any size scaling based on the banner that we're going to generate. But the coloring came out okay. That's kind of in the right direction. So, yeah, maybe the next thing if I'm going to have two of these is I should actually make the scale related to the area of interest. So the idea here is, well, how do I want to accomplish that? So how do I want to, should I take like a font size based on the area of interest? That doesn't really make sense. Or does it? What's the relationship between font size and like text height? Does it translate to pixels? This is the EM height for text, but the actual character height varies by font, blah, blah, blah. The rough conversion often being 12 point equals 16 pixels, but not. Okay, so like to a very rough approximation, it's kind of like 1 point per pixel. And then of course it might change based on whatever it thinks the screen DPI is or whatever else. So if that's the case, then maybe we should actually try to compute our font sizes based on some kind of ratio. So if my area of interest is going to be like our profiles area of interest dot size, so I want dot height divided by what is our area of interest now? It's like 338, and this one was doing okay inside of the 330. Actually, it was too big for the area of interest for YouTube that we're trying to do anyway. For the YouTube one, our interesting stuff is going to be like in the center. So let's try to take like the height over 4. And pass that in here. And then here, we're going to do the same trick. Oh. But instead of times 4, you know what? Let's multiply this instead. That's cleaner. Oh, now it thinks I want, so I'll cast all this crap to an end. Do the same thing here. And multiply it by like, let's go up to like 3.5. And then we'll pass that in here because we want it to be a little bit bigger. And let's see how that goes, because right now I've just got it centering those elements inside the I think right now I'm centering them inside the whole image, but that's wrong. I really want to construct it to work on the area of interest. Okay, so here, oh, that made it quite small, but maybe the Twitch banner one is a better representation. Yeah, alright, that's too small. So let's not scale these down quite as aggressively. Like 50 and 65. Okay, that's better, that's closer. Our YouTube one. Or which one? This is oh, because right now it's just spacing them both from the center line. So if this one's way huger, then it's not really going to be centered. So probably what I'll end up doing is taking the sum of both of those. Let me just work out the spacing a little bit on those first. So how do I want that to be spaced? Because they need to go in the area of interest. They need to be aligned properly to the center. I think this is where I was figuring that stuff out. So let's get text width is gonna be text height actually is not going to work the same way. You just want to do the width. Should be a plus. Okay, so then to get the top left, for this one, we actually want to get it minus the text width divided by 2. Profile width divided by 2 minus... Okay, and then this one is going to be at x, so it's going to be minus text width divided by 2 to put it over here, plus the Barton BMP portion of it. So center, horizontal center minus half the text width plus the Barton BMP width. Let's start with that. Okay, so now we're kind of off center, but you can see like the distance over here is equal and the distance over here is equal, which is more what we want. And as a whole, the thing feels like it's in the center of the area, which is a lot nicer. And it should be the same for this one, even though the sizing is set up differently. As a whole, we're structured in the center, so that's good. Now let's offset the heights a little bit. And that's also going to have to be relative to the size of the area of interest, or relative to the size of the bitmaps. So let's do it like in terms of the Barton bitmap. Let's say the bump height is going to be like the height. 0.2, like 20% of the height, and cast it back down to an end. So then when we do this over here, we're gonna center it, but the Barton one is gonna be minus the bump height, and the codes one is gonna be plus the bump height. So that should put them kind of staggered by a certain amount. Yeah, okay. So there we go. We started to get it staggered. That's a little bit more than I want it staggered, but it's going in the right direction. Let's try it like 10% instead. Yeah, that's closer to what I want. Okay. Yeah, so now we can get like, you know, like a line going in here and like a line going up here, kind of. That'll be cool. Okay, much nicer. Just for fun, as long as I'm doing this. I do like that blue and teal look, so I'm gonna set myself up a profile output that's like that as well. I think that's over here in the program. So let's make a, I don't really know what to call this one because it's not for like a platform that I'm on. I might just I don't know, is there a name? Maybe I can make it for X. Is there a name for, or like size information for an X banner? X banner dimension, what the hell is this talking about? Physical X banner, what? Yeah, Twitter, we still have to call it Twitter. Recommended dimensions for a Twitter banner, 1500 by 500, okay. Crucial to keep important information centered as the platform may crop sides, yeah, blah, 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 okay. So we still want to do our area of interest trick there also. So let's just call that X. Our X colors, we'll get closer to this. What was it before? It was like 64, 160, 160 that I was using. And strong was, I think it was 112 by, is it 240? No, 240 is too high. 192? I actually don't remember. I should have checked. Well, I have it in the GitHub over here. I can go check. That used to be in brand profile. No, I just did it directly in the renderer. Now I was using, okay, 64, 160, 112, 208. Okay, that's the color I was thinking of. So let's do that here. And this is the one I was thinking that like, I don't want to do, well, until I know what I want to do with it. I would do something like that. So now then I can give myself an X profile. Call it the X banner. It's going to take the X colors. And the reason I'm not defining these inline is because later I'm going to have like X banner, X profile, and YouTube banner, YouTube profile. And I want them to share the colors within a platform. So what did we just learn this was? This was 1500 by 500. And I guess I'm going to do the same thing I did for the Twitch one because they don't specify an area of interest. We're just going to take half. So 1500 divided by 4, that's like 750, 325. 325 on the X, and then 500 divided by 4 is 125. And that gives it a 700 width and like a 250 height. Alright, let's see how that generates. So now we should be getting a third one out here. Yeah, and this was, well, okay. It's closer to what we were doing. Oh, I understand, because the, now I'm taking the, all of the background, like, pixelation colors directly from this, and also I'm doing this with the highlight color. So, yeah, I want that, I want to have more control. I don't want that background to be as saturated, but I want to keep these teal tones. What if I did that by taking the this noise color that we do at the background and basing it off of instead of the base color, if we based it from the texture color. That was gonna be kind of weird. But I could also go and just add a Yeah, you know what? I think I want to add a different kind of a color to each of these. Because, yeah, I don't really want it to be purple like that. What I really want to get back to what we had is to give our color profile a thing called like a grit color that's going to get used to make a lot of the pixely stuff. So then in my profiles, I'll add this. So here it's like close to a straight blue. And for YouTube, like a dark red. And for Twitch, until I come up with something more creative, like a dark purple color. Okay. So now when I come in here, the Barton text should be based off of, why don't I set the color? Instead of base, this should be, no, actually that one should stay base, that's correct. But the noise color, I want to come from the grit color that we passed it, mixed toward black. Whoop, what do we got? No, thinks I'm trying to build it too fast. What are you talking about? Color does not contain a definition for dark purple. Did I just hallucinate that? What do we have for medium purple, peach? What's like a? It's like a good like purplish. Well, you know what? I don't have to have dark purple. Because I can just use my lerp function to darken the normal purple by a certain amount. Alright. There, okay, so that's closer to what we had before. It's not quite the same blue, but I can always tweak it up. So now we've got the blue grittiness here. We've got the dark red grittiness here. And we've got, yeah, this one's starting to feel kind of Twitch themed. Okay, neat. So let's see what we want to do after that. Yeah, let's get into the zone. Well, alright, let's do something a little bit more interesting while we got some time. Let's try to, before we get too much more fine-tuning with the colors, because there's still a couple more layers to come on here. I still want to get the lines that go like this and like this. I still want to get the ones and zeros in the background. And then I still want to get that overlay that kind of highlights the center area in a cool way. I think I will, though, fix this. I don't like that the noise on this thing is coming from the highlight color. Why don't I do that here? Yeah, okay, this is too much. I hate all the crazy yellow that it's adding here. So maybe what I want to do is start from, this is additive noise also. So let's go for so what? I want to darken the base color, and then I also want to blend that toward the highlight color. So what if we like went 33% toward the highlight color from the base color and then darkened all of that by a good amount? So we'll do 2 color.lerps. The inner lerp is going to be from the base color to the highlight color by a factor of 33%. And then we're going to mix that with black by like 50%. And then we'll pass that in here. And we can do a similar trick for the Code's noise filter. Lerp the base color. Actually, this one starts as the strong color. So we can do the strong color toward the highlight color. And this one, we'll make it like a little bit more aggressive. Code's noise color. We're going to pass that in here. Okay, let's see how that changes us. Yeah, okay. So now we're back to our kind of like blue themed with just a little bit of more interesting like textury pixely stuff. Now I still don't like that we lost that nicer kind of blue that we had in the background. So I think I'm just gonna go and how am I getting that here from the grit color? And we scale it way down towards the dark side. So for that, let's take our color from ARGB. For this one, our grid color, we can do like I'd go like I think that's the same ratios that we were using to get it before. Yeah, okay. That's closer to the ballpark that we were in. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Probably doesn't even need to be quite that loud, but that's alright. We'll leave it for now. Because we're still gonna... I'm still gonna do stuff around the outside here that kind of like tones it down as we get towards the outside. Okay. So, let's see if we can get some ones and zeros going. So I had a kind of a funny idea for the ones and zeros thing. Instead of doing them all uniform size, like I could kind of play on how different it is by actually generating each line with like a different font size of ones and zeros. I could probably use the same byte whatever font at the same time. So it's like the lines would be like thin at the top and then get thicker toward the middle and then get thin as they went to the bottom again. I thought that might be a cool effect. And it would also be kind of interesting to code to try to figure out like how you how many ones and zeros do we have to generate inside of a thing, inside of a line. So how do I want to structure that? Do I want to do it as a generator? I guess it's a generator that's going to generate, and you're going to pass it like the dimensions that you want out in the constructor. And then maybe some like a min font size and a max font size. And based on the area, it can try to work out like yeah, okay. Let's try to do that. What do we want to call that thing? Like a ones and zeros generator, like a binary generator. Let's call it a binary generator. Just gonna come from iGenerator. give this one the width and height that it desires. Probably they don't need to be public, but whatever. Then what are font sizes in double? Are they int? When I try to do a font float, that's floats, okay. So we can speak the same number language. It's probably gonna want to take a color as well. Do I just want one color for the ones and zeros, or do I want like a... Probably I want them to transition from like a lesser color to a greater color. So let's call those like the low color and the high color. These font is probably redundant. No, I want it to be clear. It's a font size. And then I'm getting tired of hacking in all these constructors, so I'm actually just gonna use direct initialization with this one also. It's also because they're public, so that means they're settable by an initializer. So let's see. Let's first get this set up the way that I would use it. So I generate the first background noise and pixelate it and do stuff. Let's call this, there's like a background noise layer. And then there's this text layer. And then the text effects that we apply to it. And then there's like a layout section that puts it all together. Okay, so after we do our background noise stuff, we want the binary stuff. Okay, the binary one, it's the size that it's going to put out is going to be the whole... how did we get the size here? Is it just... We already have noise color, noise filter, blah, blah, blah. To BMP. Okay, we started a BMP at the beginning from the gradient generator. Let's give that its own little section, actually. So I could just take the stuff. Then we said we want a min font size and a max font size. Those are probably going to both be factors of the area of interest height, just like I did down here. Times, it's probably going to be, oh, what is wrong with this now? Okay, it likes that. Let's go from like that. Like from 5% to 10%. That's probably, that might still be too big, but we'll figure that out later. Then we can give it a low color equals, this one, maybe I want to take it from the texture color. Should the binary stuff be after the texture color? Or it's part of the grid? Should it be from the grid color? I'm gonna do it, oh, from the grid color to the texture color. Okay. So low color is gonna be, and I might have to darken them to make it look decent afterwards. Okay. And then we're going to generate it. I need to capture that. And then we're going to want to add whatever it puts out on top of I want to draw it onto BMP. We're going to draw image, and I think I don't have to pass it anything else. They're like the same size. Not image, I could do a point. Yeah, X and Y, all right, that's perfectly fine. Okay. So there we're gonna add whatever's the output of our binary generator to that. Just a couple of cleanup things. I want to call this the full bitmap, and these ones I actually want to rename since I use low color and high color. Let's call this the low font size and the high font size. Oh, and I probably want to pass it an actual font name. I still wanted to call it ByteDance. What is it? ByteBounce. We'll go and capture that inside the generator. How are the streams working? Are they still doing okay? All right, perfect. Thank you for checking. String font name, all right, that's fine. Okay, so here we're gonna have get a new bitmap. Now here's where we need to do the tricky, interesting part. So I think what we're gonna do here is basically generate a line, measure, generate a line, measure, generate a line. Although we could also generate like a chunk at a time, because the tricky part is we don't know the dimensions of the text that we're going to output until we actually render it and measure it. So probably what we're going to do in a loop is like we're going to say like while we haven't covered the whole height of the image, and then for each line we're going to say while we haven't covered the whole width of the image. And in there we'll generate chunks of like maybe a few digits at a time, and we'll just keep doing that and adding them and keeping track of where we are, like going left to right, until we actually reach the end. For now, I think I want to put randomness in this, but for the first pass I'm gonna leave the random out and just do it like straight from, you know, like averages or whatever, and that'll make it simpler at first, and we'll kind of get an idea of the effect and what other kind of stuff we want to do to it. Okay, so let's do first we're gonna say have a line Y that's gonna start at 0. Oh, is this pixel? Was this int? Yeah. And so we're going to start that at 0, and that's going to be the top of the area of the line that we're drawing. And then we're going to say, oh, some kind of streaming spam showed up on Twitch. I don't know if you're able to get that or if I need to do something about it. Is there a way for me to delete it in here? No, I don't know how to remove messages if you want to look into that. I don't think there's anything on YouTube. I don't think there's any YouTube activity. No, I'm just gonna keep going. I don't care about that right now. So while line y is less than the out bitmap.height, then we need to wait.
He's just angry because he's outside the room.
Oh yeah, sure, I understand.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see this spammer showed up?
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Just I don't really care, but whenever I don't know how to remove him. Is there like a command you run?
I'll deal with that. Here's some ASMR.
Some ASMR cat purring.
His brother's downstairs. I'll take care of it.
No, it's all good. It really is not like a rush. There's nobody here.
I'm just working.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind. Alright, so if we have line y is less than, then the bottom. So okay, so now we're gonna want to generate. I guess we just draw directly onto the thing as we go. We're gonna have to get a graphics context. Maybe I'm gonna do this inside having a graphics context. We'll just do all of our stuff with that graphics context. So you know, line y 0, line y is less than out bitmap to height. Here, so first, okay, we need to pick a font size for the line, and so for now we're just gonna do line font size equals, I guess we want to go from the middle. We'll just do like a linear interpolation for now. Oh, you can't see them? No. Okay, I don't know what this is that's showing up. Maybe it's just showing to me in the stream manager view or whatever. Oh, you know what? It says on here, likely Banivator restricted. So probably that means it's just showing me that something tried to send a message, but it's not actually putting it in the public chat. So that's fine. I guess we don't have to do anything. Okay, so our line font size. Now first, I guess a way to do it would be, what is the distance of our line y from the center of the image, or the center of the height? So, it's gonna be minus line y. The abs. Alright, so it's just gonna, always when you're coding, you're working through stuff mentally to kind of test some examples and make sure it's gonna do what you expect. So if we came through here, our line y starts at 0, so half the height minus line y, and the absolute value of that is going to be half the height. So if we're doing this in an area of like 500 pixels, then that means this D is going to be like 250. And if we then if we got to the middle of the image where line y equaled like 250, then we're going to get 250 minus 250, and that's going to be 0, so our D is going to be like 0 there. And then as we march up further, and we get all the way to line y 500, then there we're going to get 250 minus 500 is negative 250, the abs is 250. So we get back to 250 again. So then we want to scale this down because really we want a proportion here. So 250, and we really want this divided by the height divided by 2, because we want this, so that means our 250 divided by 250, you know, let's clean this up a little bit when we go. So we got a half height. Let's do this in terms of, and this, so now at the beginning we're going to have 250 divided by 250 is going to give us 1.0, and then in the middle we're going to get 0.0, and then at the bottom we're going to get 1.0 again. Are these ints? That might mess us up. We might want to do all this as float math. This part can stay int math, that's fine, but when you do the division, we really want okay. So half height reciprocal. Yeah, see, it's telling me it's redundant. It might actually do this cast implicitly. I don't care enough to go check. So now I have the reciprocal, which means we can multiply it instead. And because this is a double, that should turn whatever this is into a double also. Okay. Now the last thing we want to do to this is right now this is reversed, because right now this number is going to go from 1, then we get to the middle of the screen to 0, and then we go to the end of the screen to 1. And we really want that flipped around so that we're going to go from like 0 at the bottom, like the smallest size, up to 1, and then back to 0 is the smallest size. So we can probably do 1.0 minus all this. Or is that correct? Yeah, so 1 minus 1 is 0 at the beginning. Then we get to the middle, we'll get 1 minus 0 is 1. Then we'll get to the end, 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, so now we've got a number that's going to go from 0 to 1 based on how far from the center we are. And the next thing we want to do with that number, let's call this. Next thing we want to do with that number is scale. For right now, I'll just do like linear interpolation of the 2 font sizes that we want. So to get a concrete font size, we're gonna get the low font size plus, we just did this a second ago. It's like the high font size minus the low font size times this height dist, right? Is that correct? So let's say if these were like low size is 10 and the high size is 20. So we're gonna start off at 0, and we're gonna get so 10 plus 20 is 10. No, sorry. Let's say this is font size 10. It's 20 minus 10. It gives us 10 in this term, but we're gonna multiply that by 0, which gives us back 10, just the low font size. It's going to be the same at the end. And then in the center, where height dist goes to 1, we're going to have 10 plus 10 minus, or 20 minus 10 is 10 times 1. So that's going to give us 20. So yeah, that should be what we want. All right. So now we've got a font size for the line we're going to try to render here. Now comes the weirder part, because we're gonna have to actually like render these across in a line. We're gonna need a random number generator for this as well. Actually, I know I said I wouldn't do it with random first, so Yeah, we'll not do it with random first. We'll do a stupider trick. So how do I want to start this? Now I want to do another while loop that goes from the x at the beginning and marches across the x dimension until we get to the end. So that's going to be like chunk x equals 0. While chunk x is less than the width, we're going to do some stuff. And what we're going to do in here is, first we're going to do a draw text. Oh, you know, I also forgot I could, I should do... should go ahead and lerp the color as well, because we already worked out this nice factor, so we can plug that directly into our lerp from the low color to the high color by the height distance. Okay. Let's call it, it's more like a height factor, or honestly, it's more just like a factor. Okay. So our color, yeah, perfect. All right, so now let's try to draw these in chunks. So for now, I'm gonna have it do a string measure, which we learned about the last time. And I'm gonna give it, let's give it, just so I can do it later. So right now I'm just going to give it a string literal that I'll use over and over again, but we can actually have it generate a cool pattern later. We'll have it measure the size of that chunk. Oh, I need to give it a font. Oh, yeah, but there's a way to do this, isn't there? So let's do these in a different order. I got the color, I got the font size. And then isn't there a font constructor that takes an original font? Yeah, font prototype, which is going to be our font name. I passed it a string. I need to pass it an actual original font. Well, no, okay, I can just pass it the name, right? Font name, and then the size, which is going to be the font size that we computed. What's wrong with this? Cannot convert from string to system.drawing.font. What the hell? Wasn't I doing this over in the renderer? How did I get fonts here? New font, string, and an int for the font size. Is that what it's complaining about? My font size is a double. Cast about, okay, now I figured that out. So now I've got a font, because when we do the measure string, we're gonna have to pass it the font that we're gonna draw with. And we're gonna get, what does this return, like a point? Size F. Measures the specified string drawn with the font. So that's the size. Now what is this? What does chunk size have? Does it have a width and a height? Okay, cool. So now I got the width and the height of the section we're doing. So we're gonna measure this piece we just put out. If we were really gonna do the same text over and over, it would suffice to just measure it once and then go through and do it like that. But because this is probably gonna be different text each time, I don't know if the ones and zeros are exactly the same width. I'm just gonna have it measure each time. Okay, so we measure it, we capture the size. We're going to draw the string, which is the chunk text with the font that we created. Oh, we also need to make a brush, right? So do a solid color brush. Solid brush from the color we computed. We give that a brush, and then the point that we want to draw it at is going to be line X. Or sorry, it's going to be chunk X and the line Y. Okay, so now we've measured it and captured the size, we've drawn it out, and the next thing we want to do is increment. Actually, I'm gonna have to, because this should all be the same height for a line, so I'll just keep some kind of variable here, like the line height. And we're gonna just capture the line height. We don't want to keep adding to it because we're on the same line. So we're just gonna set the line height to, I'm just actually gonna keep setting it multiple times. Okay, just to clean that up. So I'll check if it's in its initial condition. The height. So get it from the chunk size height. Oh, what's wrong with this? It's a float. Okay. But every time we do this, we're going to increment the chunk size, or sorry, the chunk X. Chunk X plus equals plus equals the width. Okay. Oh my god. And then if the line height hasn't been set, then we do that. So now that we've got this chunk X being incremented, so we're going to draw these characters, then we're going to advance the X position. And then we're going to draw these characters again and advance the X position, draw these characters again, advance the X position, all the way until this chunk X goes off the side of the screen, and then this loop should terminate because the chunk X is no longer going to be less than the width. And so then it should take us back out to our outer loop up here. And we just have to be really sure that at the bottom of this outer loop, we increase our line height. No. Our line Y by the line height. Okay. So, how's that going to do? I think that's going to do everything, right? Because we're going to chunk across the screen, rendering these out. Then we're going to skip down to the next line. On the next line, we're going to compute all of our font size and colors again. Then we're going to chunk across the screen and then skip down to the next line. Until we get to the bottom. And as soon as line Y goes over the bitmap's height, I guess we can just say height here, then we should be done. So that actually should work. Let's give it a try. Let's see where we're at with this. I already got it set up over here. I forgot. We set up the binary generator, pass it, and then we do a draw image at the end. Oh, let's see. Ah, okay. Wow, look at that. That's actually pretty cool. That had a cooler effect than I expected. Now, one thing I don't understand is the measure text, for some reason, is bringing these like spaces into it. But I kind of don't mind because they make these really cool patterns on the side. Yeah, but I was gonna kind of erase that because I was gonna stagger the starting positions. How do I want to handle that? But overall, I like the effect. Let's see how are we looking on the other ones. It even does it for like the YouTube one. But the color's way too much. And does it for the Twitch one. Oh, but up here it kind of... you know what? I really need to add this gradient thing at the end is the problem. I need to, like, that's how you give it the nice sheen. I've been putting it in the background, but that's what I did when I was doing mine earlier. Let's fix that first, so it'll make these, so we can generate stuff with, like, flat colors in the back, and then we'll actually create the gradient over it. So, instead of this, this is gonna get the profile width and profile height. I got a cat trying to climb on me. Alright. Sorry, buddy. I'm busy right now. Profile width. Okay. And then down here, we're actually going to move the gradient stuff to the very end. For the layout, the gradient BMP is going to generate. Now this time, instead of this, I think what I want to do is actually, let's make these black with an alpha. I'll make them both white, but with different alphas maybe. Or white and black, huh? Like, so we go from 255 all the way at the top. And then we go to, like zeros all at the bottom. And we're gonna do our gradient from, this should be pretty subtle, so let's do like from 24 to 8 maybe like 32 to 8. Get our gradient BMP, and then we're actually going to we want to draw on the full bitmap. Draw image BMP 0. Okay, so then we'll draw the gradient stuff on top at the end, transparently. Let's see if that works right. Oh, no, something did not. Oh, because now I haven't actually filled the background. Okay. Background should always start as black. Let's do that as a base. Okay. Let's start it as black at the back. Okay, there we go. So now I got that little subtle gradient over the top. Actually, now it's too subtle. I want it to be more. Let's take it from like 64 to 0. Might be too much, but we'll give it a try. Is it just me, or is this thing taking longer to generate? Because I'm doing all this like per pixel math. Yeah, okay, that's closer. That might still end up being too much, but we can tone it down later. Maybe I'll take it from like 48. Now it's starting to bother me that there's this strip on the edge. I think that comes from my pixelator thing. I think I've messed it up somehow. Maybe I don't really want to do that stuff. It's not adding that much. Let's take out the BG pixelator. and set this back to like 48. Okay, that's a more reasonable color tint. Now let's see. How is I gonna look at it? Like this one. Yeah, okay. Cool. Cool. So the color is still too much, but we'll get there. So now the question is, do I leave the spaces or not? I don't really want them. I don't understand why measure text includes the spaces. And I don't really know how to correct for it. That's going to be general across font sizes. Let's see if... Is there like a padding you can pass it? Sometimes return a size that appears larger than the actual rendered text, especially with false font sizes, blah blah blah. Related to how GDI handles font hinting, anti-aliasing, use some approaches. String format, typographic to measure string and draw string. Is designed for typographic accuracy. String format. Oh, so you can pass it a string format thing. And you pass it to the drawstring. Okay, let's try that. Why not? So that was over here on the binary generator. Generic typographic. Oh, what's wrong with that? It wants a size F. Well, what the hell is the AI telling me over here? Where did I have my window? Measure size, or measure string. Pass it the text, the font, and the string format. Well, it doesn't actually let you do that. You know, I think it might be making this up. Text rendering hand. Clear type grid fit. Text renderer, not measure. From Windows.forms. No, I don't think so. I don't think I like that. I mean, if we really wanted to be brutal about it, we could literally go through and count like the pixels until we find ones that have. That's gonna make it take forever though. Well, on this basis, oh, okay. What if we just made the length of the chunks random so we get breaks in it? So we get the cool breaks in it, but they're going to be staggered, like they're going to be at very different locations. Yeah, let's try that. Okay, it's time to introduce a random generator in here. But for the random generator, I want to pass it a seed. Aha, int seed. Okay, perfect. So, and here, so I want to be able to lock it into a seed number. When I initialize it over here, for now, just gonna start with seed 0, but then, so to get different effects, I'll try to increment the seed, and when I find one I like, then I'll leave it like that, and it should stay. Okay, now let's use the random for a couple of different places. The binary generator. First of all, I want our line height to be based on the size factor, but I don't want it to be exactly the size factor. I want it to kind of like wiggle around to make it like kind of uneven. So how do I want to accomplish that? Probably have it go like up 25% to down 25% from the one that it computes here. So the font size that we compute here, we're actually gonna wiggle it. So what we're doing here is we're gonna get no, I think I'm doing this wrong. This is what I want because I want it to go around 1. Whoa. Put those in the other order to make it more obvious. So we're going to get a scaling factor that starts at 75% and adds randomly between 0 and 50%. So that should give us a range of 75% to 125%. And we're going to multiply that by the whole font size calculation that we did here. Yeah, all right. And then we could also do a similar thing for the lerp. For the color lerp. Actually, I'm gonna split these out. Let's take this stuff. So we'll get a font size factor. Oh, you know what? Since I'm doing chunks, I could actually color each chunk differently. That's a cool idea. Yeah, so as it goes across, like the chunks themselves could actually vary in color. I guess if I wanted to, I could have the I can't really have the line height change as I go left or right, but I could have the chunk color change as I go left or right for sure. So let's take this I might do it that way. That's way cooler. Down here, let's do this brush thing for each chunk. And then I'll probably have a similar expression to get the first of all, I'm gonna, okay, so factor is going from 0 to 1. I want to wiggle it by maybe like 0.1 in either direction. So I don't want to multiply it by a thing, I just want to add to it. So really here I want color factor equals and then we don't care if it goes below 0 or above 1 because I already locked that inside of the color util lerp function. So now we get a color factor. I'm gonna do color factor here. Okay, before I change the color to go X to Y, let's see how this is gonna do by itself. This is like the line factor. Yeah, okay, so now it kind of wiggles around a bit. It's like a little bit grittier, a little bit more random as it goes. That's pretty cool. How does it look on like the big one? Yeah, there you can kind of see the randomness of the line height a little bit. Can't tell if it's too much or too little. I think I'm going to leave it like that for now until I get some of the other effects going on in there. And then we could decide better if it's too much or not enough. So let's do... also, why is this YouTube one, like, why does it seem like it's going from, like, red to red? It's very boring colors. Why do I have that configured over here? I think we're going from the base color to the texture color. Oh, because for YouTube, the... What color am I giving it here? The grit color to the texture color. So for YouTube, the grit color is dark red and the texture color is brown. That's probably why. Maybe we want the texture to be more like orange. I think, first of all, doing this orange is wrong in the first place. I think I just want like a brighter red. Let's do that for now. And then for the texture, use orange. We have a dark orange. Oh, but then they're going to be the same again. That's exactly what I don't want. Alright, let's try it like that. I'll come and do all these colors better later. Like, once we get the algorithm going, then we could spend a little bit of time here just, like, tweaking the colors until we get something that looks really sharp. Okay, that looks a little bit more interesting. It's still, like, way too bright. Yeah, orange is way too bright. But I think I'm gonna have to deal with that by just scaling it down, because really all of them are too bright. So, probably when I pass it in here... because I want these to kind of sit in the background. How do I do that? Alright, pass in this stuff. So probably I want to lerp these down towards black. The grid color. 75 for the low color, and then we'll let it pick up a little bit. There's that texture. 50 on the high end. So it should darken that text up a little bit. Because we really want something more like a background element. Yeah, okay. That darkens it up nicely. In fact, now it makes the gradient seem like too much. We'll keep adjusting it afterward. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, especially that one. Look at that. That's starting to get a kind of a cool effect. Let's go and do, yeah, some of the other randomizing that we need to do in here. Okay, the binary generator. So these size changes are okay for now. Now, the first thing I want to do is start the line height and the line Y and the chunk Y at random negative numbers, because I want them to kind of depend on what is this? Let's take it like, yeah, sure, 200, why not? constant there. Okay, so now we're going to start that a little bit off the top. Actually, for the top, I can probably be like a smaller number. Then for the chunk X, we're going to start that a little bit off the side. This is the one that should be like, I don't know, just making up numbers. Kind of like off by some, so we don't always start exactly lined up with the top left corner. Let's start by doing that. Yeah, so now it's like not super crisply lined up to the corner. It's like really a kind of a background element that can be anywhere. That's pretty cool. Yeah, okay. It's too much with the gradient though. It's pissing me off. Let's bring that back down a notch. Yeah, okay. It's a little bit tighter. This one, yeah, the noise. I'll have to mess with that again later. That's okay. Now the next, probably the most important thing for ones and zeros is that we want them to actually be different patterns of ones and zeros. So we're gonna get a length, which is gonna be like chunk length is gonna be, we pass it the number that we want, yeah, max value. So we want a number between 0, so the shortest pattern we want is probably 4. The longest pattern we want is maybe like 16. Let's do 12. So it's gonna go from 4. This is gonna give us 0 to 11. 4 plus 11 is 15. I guess if we wanted to get all the way up to, all right. So now we can do chunk lengths between that. Now for the chunk text, how do we want to actually get the ones and zeros? We could do how about like so it can be anything up to 16, right? So we could just do rand.next is going to give like any integer, so it's basically 32 bits that are randomly generated. So then to get the actual characters, it's like, I don't just want to sit there and do plus equals plus equals plus equals. What's the clean way to do that for a string? Be like for each, and do like a char array, maybe. Let's pre-make us like a characters array so we don't allocate it over and over again. So our max length is I said like 16. I'll just give it some extra space. New string. Yeah, I'll just do string.join on or whatever. Make it like 32 strings that we can do. Okay, then what we're gonna do is no, string.join. No, that's gonna mess it up because, well, I really hate doing the stupid plus equals thing, but because it's gonna allocate over and over and over again, so it's gonna make it really unnecessarily slow, which a lot of this program already is, but don't want to make it super slow. I don't know. So let's ask the internet really quick. Okay. Char list. So you can do string.concat. Okay, you can pass it a char list and do string.concat. The problem there is, well, okay, I know what we can do. All right. It'll get us a list of characters, and then that allocates an array under the hood. And then when we come through and do this, I guess before we start, we'll clear the array, which doesn't, this is the critical part, it doesn't reset the storage, so it doesn't actually get rid of the array that we have allocated. It just empties out like the pointer, like the length pointer, and we can start writing in new stuff. So for each length, we're gonna say we're gonna add a character, which are actually string. No, I made it actual chars now. And the character we add is gonna be based on is that how we do it? Does that make sense? Okay, chunk bits downshift by I. So at first it's going to downshift 0, and then and 1 means we're going to mask it to just the bottom bit. And if that's equal to 1, then it's a 1, otherwise it's a 0. So we actually just generated a 32-bit random integer, and we're going to scan its bits one by one to actually pull out the random numbers. I think that's correct. That might blow up in a really silly way. If it blows up in a silly way, what is going to happen is probably going to give me all zeros. And then our chunk text is going to be so I can call chars on that. Okay. Let's see how that goes. And now, because we're counting up from side to side, we don't depend on any kind of regular length or size from this field. Yeah, okay, so now I have like more random. Yeah, like there's a 4, there's a 6, some kind of intermediate like groups of strings. Yeah, very cool. That looks much more natural. In fact, 16 might be too high. I kind of want some of the groups to be smaller. It does seem like we're getting, yeah, good strings of 1s and 0s in there. I could also, if I wanted to, instead of generating random ones, I could like encode some kind of hidden message that like loops, like it gets encoded in binary on the screen. And then if somebody comes and like really wants to, they could go and plug the characters in. I don't know. I don't really feel like doing that. Let's make this like, so 4 is still a good minimum. Let's make it like 12 on the maximum, which would be 9. Yeah, okay, that's better. So now they're not as many that are just like crazy long. And we got this nice, cool, yeah, like rippling, like ridges of, you know, that form from like, and all the gaps between them. So that's pretty cool. So now we can go back and apply our color gradient strategy to the chunks going from left to right as well. So our color factor is going to have 2 components to it. So we've already got a line factor. Now the chunk factor is going to be pretty much the same expression except with the X stuff instead. So up here, I already got half height reciprocal. So we got half width stuff going on. All right, so here we're gonna do half width minus the chunk X times the. Okay, so this, by the same logic, should give us a number that's going from 0 when it's all the way to one side to 1 in the center, and then when it's all to the left, then 0 when it gets to the center, and then start again. This should give us a value that starts at 0 on the left hand side of the image and works its way up to 1 in the center of the image, and then works its way back down to 0 by the right hand side of the image. So that's perfect. Let's now how are we going to factor that in? So now we have two. We've got a chunk factor and we've got a line factor, and we want to incorporate those both into the color. I think what I might want to do is multiply them together, because that would give, so if we're like the top left corner, then that's definitely going to be like 0. And if we're at any of the edges, then one of them is going to be 0, so that's going to give us a 0 overall. But what I want to do is I'm trying to stop, like, if we look at this. Right now, we've got a cool linear gradient. I want it to be kind of like a radial gradient, so I want it to have kind of a roundness to it. If I do this in a dumb way, like if I add the two factors together, like if I take half from one and half from the other, then what we're going to get is like a diamond shape. You're going to see a diamond like from here to here to here to here. And I don't really want that. I want it to be kind of like smoother. Now the risk of doing the multiply is that it's going to be like more 0 in most of the places. There might be kind of like a bright spot in the middle that goes out, which is not really what I want. I want it to kind of like gradually, but we might be able to fix that. If I do the multiply, then maybe I could use like another function to kind of like stretch it out if you want. So I think I'm going to start with the multiply and just see how it looks. All right. So the color factor. Okay, so this was okay, because this is where we wanted to add the line factor to it, plus the little bit of random noise. Okay, so the random noise is even a different character. Let's give that a name. Color noise. Okay, no, actually, this is all I want to do. Chunk factor times the line factor. So because both of these are confined between 0 and 1, multiplying them should still confine us between 0 and 1 ultimately. But because I might apply another function to it, I'll probably break it out into another thing. I'm running out of useful names for stuff. I don't really care. Okay, let's try it like that. Let's see if the roundness is okay or if it looks like garbage. It's not too bad actually, especially with a little bit of random wiggling. Now it is pretty dark in the corners, but I was kind of gonna do that anyway. Yeah, that's definitely workable. And because it's colored in chunks, you can see like they're not 100%. They're not 100% like they're jagged kind of. In fact, now now that I have that, I might actually increase the random factor on the color. Instead of this, let's go like 0.4 to 0.2, and that should make it so that like each bit string has like more variation between them, but on average they should still make that nice like rounded pattern. Yeah, like this. So now you have some sticking out. And this one almost looks like fall leaves. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like it more like that. So that's a nice actual background that's starting to go on. That's an effect we can actually work with. Here, if y'all will give me just a minute, I will be back in, yeah, give me 2-3 minutes. I'll mute the mic. Alright, and I'm back here. So, alright, I was thinking I'll go till about 9. So I don't really want to start a major next thing on here. Let me see if there's something minor I could do to it. I mean, I could go adjust the colors, but they're still going to change. What else do we got? Yeah, these are looking pretty cool. This one still has way too much noise in the background. The noise color is way too loud. But the idea is cool. Ah, okay. So here's one. This might come out really bad and it might be way too simple. But I kind of, I had an idea for trying to make like a more Perlin noise type of background, like a more textured noise that you could get by literally layering the noise function on top of itself at different like block sizes over and over. Because then what should happen is like you get some huge blocks that are like high and some huge blocks that are small, and within that you have some smaller blocks that add more and some that add less. And within those, you have some smaller blocks that add more and some smaller blocks that add less, and a kind of a fractal. And I was thinking if you did that, then you might get some kind of like milky, cloudy kind of a texture that also has the grittiness of being made out of blocks. So let's try to throw that together really quick, because I think I could just build it basically out of the noise filter that I already made. Let's get like a texture generator. Or you know what, I might just do it in a loop in the main thing. So up here where I'm doing the noise, now for right now I'm gonna temporarily turn off a little bit of this other stuff. So I'm gonna stop drawing the text. I'm gonna stop drawing the gradient. And I'm gonna stop drawing the binary. So right now we should just be looking at the noise. It's like in Photoshop if I went and turned off the layers. Okay, so we got just the noise part of it. So let's try this idea. So we got a noise color, which I'll probably end up scaling way down if I'm gonna do this because all my noise is additive. So now what I want to do is how many iterations of it do I want to do? Let's do like 12 iterations of it. So now my block size, I want to actually get from 2 to the power of the I that I'm on, so I'm going like into halves. But that might be, well, I don't know, is that going to work well? Maybe I just want to divide down the image in width and height. Let's try the powers of 2 first. But 2 to the 12 is kind of large, so that actually might be too many layers to do that. Why does this insist on being huge? Oh, it doesn't understand power. Oh my god. Oh, we're just doing it with Google. Where do I got my thing? 2 to the 12 is 4096. That's way too big. Really, my biggest ones should be like, yeah, 64, 2 to the 6. So we'll do block size 64 by 64, then 32 by 32, then 16 by 16, then 8 by 8, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's actually take this to 6. Well, we're going to do a +1 in there. So block size is going to be at that power 2 to the power of I plus 1. So this is going to be 2 to the power of 1 is 2. Actually, I want it to start, never mind. I want it to start at 2 to the power of 0, which should be 1. Oh, and I also want this to go in inverse order, although it's additive, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter if I do the small first and then go up to the big. And then here, I want that as an int as well. So this block size should be, as we iterate through here, go 2 to the power of 0 is 1, 2 to the power of 1 is 2, 2 to the power of 2 is 4, 2 to the power of 3 is 8, 2 to the power of 5 is 16, 2 to the power of, no, I messed that up somewhere. How did I mess that up? The highest this is going to get to is 5. 2 to the power of 5 is 32. So maybe I want this less than, let's do less than or equal to 6. Until we get up to 64. Okay, so each time I'm going to do that, I'm going to create a noise filter with that same noise color. And I'm going to pass it that block size. And then we're going to apply it to the background. Oh, let's see what that does. Oh, if it works. Okay, what's wrong? Noise filter doesn't. Oh, because I was applying it twice. Okay, whatever. This will take the place of that. Man, is it really that heavy to do it? Why is that so heavy to do? Is it just because I'm looping through the pixels by hand? Ah, okay. So there. Yeah, look at that nice grittiness. Look at that nice grittiness. That's exactly the kind of thing I was hoping it would do. But really, it needs an extra layer, like, really, it could go up another 2, honestly. Let's see how it looks for the other ones. Yeah, very cool. So it's kind of like glitchy with the big squares. And like very kind of like noisy in the background. This would look so cool if I got an actual like some kind of other like gradient like mechanism on the sides. The Twitch one, that's darker, but it's the same idea. Okay, let's do that same thing, but let's do it with like a couple of changes. First of all, I want to get this to like really like darken it up because it's going to be too much. And then let's do another couple of layers. I guess the reason that this is taking so long is because I'm iterating over like that giant YouTube one like over and over and over again. Like you can see the process memory it's counting here. I think this is the part where it's doing that noise filtering thing because it doesn't have to actually allocate anything else. It's just sitting there working on the same, scanning over the same pixels over and over in memory. And then finally it gets to the rest and it finishes. Yeah, okay, so it's like even bigger blocks. Although now, you know, that effect is so nice. I want it to come back up. I want it to be... Let's do it like... It's probably going to be too much. But let's start it like this. I'm going to have to start to wait for it again. I wonder if I'm going to make this thing take so much processor power that I get lazy and literally have it cache the images. And then instead of generating it each time, I'll just load them from cache files. Like, that would be kind of silly to do for a project like this, but I'm a silly man. Oh yeah, that's way too much. But it really shows off the coolness of that effect. I think that's pretty unique too. Like, I don't think there's like a Photoshop filter you can download that does that. Like, maybe you could get Perlin noise, but this is very unique the way it does it with the blocky edges. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so I'm gonna leave. Oh, now if I wanted to have some grit left over, maybe what I should do is instead of starting it all the way down, is I should start it at a little bit of a higher level. Yeah, so now it has some grittiness, some pixeliness. Yeah, okay, I'm liking that. So let's keep that effect, scale it back a little bit, maybe 0.9 was the right thing for it. And then for the Twitch one, I just need to bring up the colors. Why is the Twitch one so dark? I made the texture dark red. Really, so it's the grit color. Oh, because I'm taking purple and blending it that far towards black. So let's just make the grit color also purple. And then the texture. Oh. It's just red. Okay, let's try it like that. And now it's going to take a second to run each time. Okay, that one's still the same. Yeah, that's looking good. I like a Twitch one like that. Those nice kind of like reddish, purplish shades. That's starting to have some real character to it. Alright, so now let's go and pop the other stuff back on top. And the renderer. I'll probably also, now that I'm doing that, I'll probably also want to pass that whole chunk of stuff like the same seed to use the same random generator so that I can lock it in and get exactly the same pattern each time once I find one that I really like. I'm not going to do the background pixelator. I don't think it's necessary. I'm not going to apply. I think this effect is way cooler. Let's put the binary stuff back on top. And then let's put the gradient back on top. And then make sure we're doing that. Oh, you know what? You know why the gradient doesn't... Ah, I'm so stupid. This should be going... The gradient should be after I do the text. So that it also goes over the top of that. Yeah. Oh, look at how that blends together. And we got the ones and zeros coming out of the background. That's real marbly. So in a future stream, what we'll probably do is I've got another kind of a block-based strategy that I want to put like a kind of a darkening thing around the outside of this that's that makes dark areas in a different way. I think that's gonna look really nice. And then we pretty much just need the lines in here, and I might want to do some other kind of text effect, some kind of splash. And then we'll pretty much be good to go on kind of the banner style, and we can turn our attention towards other profile types and start generating some actual branding. See, how does this Twitch one look? Yeah, so other than, I wish the ones and zeros stood out a bit more. I'll have to clean that up some, like I mentioned. Yeah, also with this one, I need some work. That one looks kind of crappy. But we'll get there. I don't know why this is leaving like dark aliasing artifacts around the edges of the ones and zeros. But maybe it's because this one's like smaller. Maybe the ones and zeros size is too bad. Because here on the YouTube one, where it's huge, they look great. Maybe when I do the ones and zeros business, I don't want it to come from the area of interest, which can be quite small. Maybe I want it to come from the actual profile width and height. Yeah. And just make it a smaller proportion of that. Maybe that's going to be more consistent across them. That's the great part about programming, is you can just make your CPU do whatever you want. You can make it sit there and burn through coming up with cool textures as much as you want. Okay, so here they're a little bit larger. So that's, yeah, I think that's a more appropriate style actually, like when you zoom all the way out and take it. That might be a little bit too big, but you want it to be like legible what they are. Here, they're still kind of small here. Probably gonna have to revisit that. That's okay, we can do that a different time. And here they're still way too small. I don't understand. What's the difference here? My height... No, let me work this out. These sizes are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. For YouTube, my profile height is 1440. For this one is 480. And for this one it's 500. So how come it just look really bad? So we're doing a factor on each of these. So the low font size is the profile height times 0.025. So What is that coming out to? For YouTube, it's like 1400. Do I just give this like a fixed size that I know looks good across everything? Let's try that. And then there'll be like a different number of lines of text for each thing. But that's alright. Let's do like, or maybe the font doesn't scale linearly with the size. That'd be super weird. Let's do like a 30 font size to like a 60 font size. I don't know if you can hear the computer spinning up on the microphone. It's like a shuttle taking off. Okay, so here the YouTube one still looks reasonable. Now the Twitch one looks a lot better, so you can see there's fewer lines, but they're like of a more appropriate size, although they're kind of too large. And this one is also more reasonable, although the colors are garbage. So I think we're getting towards something workable. Let's try to touch up the colors in this one a little bit. That is entirely too much color going on for the X one. I want it to be like kind of cool and lean and cyber, like very like blue teal focused. So let's try to make all of these for the X ones like blues and teals. What did I do with the colors here? Okay, the base color and the strong color are okay. The highlight is yellow, texture is purple, and the grit is whatever this color is, which is like it's got way too much of different color sides because it can randomly pick for each color component what it wants to do, so that gives it a lot of room for like rainbow coloring. So this is probably way too high. We probably want the red one at 0 for sure, and we probably want the blue at no more than 128, and maybe the green at like 96, so it can only add bits of green and blue, but it can't add any bits of red. The texture color purple sounded like a nice idea, but now maybe it should just, maybe it's just the amount of purple is too much. So let's start from our I would have to define the base color first. Let's start from like a pure, or like teal, and let's blend teal towards purple by like 25%. Then the highlight being yellow, also I don't like. Really, this should be more like at the maximum, like some kind of green, but even that should be like a, let's just do it from, let's do it like a 0 red, max green, half blue. So that should be kind of like a bluish green color. Okay, is that gonna look any better? Oh, okay, that's way closer to what it's supposed to be. Although now I really need the those to stick out more. On the red they stick out fine. Okay, so why is that? Because on here, so the dark red color goes from really blending into the background to whatever it is. I guess the texture color is what stands out in the middle. Is that how I did this? Binary gen low color. We lerp the grit, and then we lerp the texture. Okay. So now what's going on is that the texture color for this one doesn't stand out enough. It needs to be like more teal. Really needs to be closer to like that strong color. In fact, maybe that's what I want. So teal. Yeah, I don't want the purple at all actually. I want my texture color to be like the same as the strong color pretty much. Because I'm gonna modify it before I use it anyway. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit better. Now it kind of blends with the text, which I don't like, but we can always clean that up a bit later. And it's also still, yeah, see this like bluish and purplish. I wish this was really just like teal to black in this one. It would look really cool that way instead of being more multicolored. In fact, I wonder if I should make my noise texture thing go back to using a single random number. Let's try that. Because like all over the place, I feel like there's too much like rainbowiness that's coming out of it. And I wish it would stick strictly to the color that you gave it. And just vary the intensity. So okay, right now I'm doing random red, random green, random blue, and then I'm adding them in here. I'll actually just preserve these old lines completely. Random number. Oh, so here I was taking them from the color components. I still... Wait, okay. Let me think through this for a second. So here I was taking, like, if we passed in a red, we randomize, we roll a red, we roll a green, we roll a blue. What I want here is to roll a number and then scale it by each of those. Yeah. So we're gonna get like a random up to 255, really, because random will go from 0 to 1 minus this minus 1. And then we want to multiply. No, okay, let's do it like this. Let's get a random factor equals our next double, which goes from 0 to 1, so that's what we want. And then we want the R, G, and B increase to be really we want this to be, why am I doing, oh, because I have to do the old color. But inside here for the block, we haven't even done a get color. Oh, because for the block size, no, okay, I don't need the pixel. I just need the range. Okay, that's what I called it, range. Okay, so range dot r. So we're gonna do this, cast it to an int. Range.g times the random factor. Okay, so now we've scaled the color that came in by the random float. So if R came in 255, it can be 0 to 255. If R came in 64, it can be 0 to 64. But they're all coming from the same intensity factor, which means they're all going to have the same proportion. So then actually I don't even have to change these lines down here. I'll just leave them as they were, because I still want to take the old color and add to them that way. Alright, let's try that. So the intention here is to get some of that rainbowiness out, which can be a cool effect, but it's not really the effect that I'm going for. Okay, do I notice a big difference? And the red one, I guess it was pretty red to begin with, so it doesn't make a big difference. And the purple one, yeah, it definitely is confined to a more purpley shade. And in the blue one, oh yeah, see, that's so much better. It's like, now it's like a blue marbled look. Instead of being, like a lot of different, like, random hues everywhere. That's way closer to what I was going for. And now when I put, like, the black stuff around the borders, yeah, it's way more in color theme. Okay, much, much happier with that. Okay, that might be a good place to kind of start to wrap it up. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there for now. And next time I get on and stream, then we'll tackle another chunk of it. We'll get this kind of like faded border going in here. We'll get these lines going in here, and then start getting the other profiles set up to do for different social media sites. And before long, we'll be uploading all these banners and stuff on the different pages and accounts. That'll be a lot of fun. Okay. Let's go ahead and check this into Git. I know these commits are garbage, by the way. It's just because I'm streaming. I'm kind of just doing it stream of consciousness, so I'm not being real careful about my commit messages or anything like that. I'm just going to check in some work that I streamed at the end. Let's see. Texture generator. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Alright, commit it. Let's pop it up. Okay, let's go take a look at it in the repository here. Got our branding repository and our generators. Oh, I forgot to mention the binary stuff, yeah. So we got our, yeah, nice texture generator that does, what did this one do again? Oh, text generator. my eyes are tired. No, we did that texture stuff inside the main brand renderer. I guess the biggest one, the most interesting one, was the binary generator. There's kind of a cool algorithm going on here, where we can really see. Oh hey, I got somebody. Remy Oob. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the stream. Too bad I'm about to check off, but of course you can always hop back on the next time I'm gonna stream. I'm thinking about doing like like Mondays and Thursdays kind of, and then maybe like a day on the weekend like Saturday or Sunday. So I'll try to start keeping that up one by one, and we'll just see how it goes from there. Alright, I'm gonna sign off for now. Thank you everyone who is watching me right now, and thank you everyone who I hope is gonna go back and watch these in the future when they see that it generated some cool art.